Welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So, today we have Ankita, who is from Kolkata and she went to Edinburgh for her higher studies. And we'll be knowing about her journey from Kolkata to Edinburgh. So, welcome Ankita to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Ankita, when was the very first time you thought that maybe study abroad is something you would like to pursue, or there is something like study abroad? There is some countries outside India also.
Um, so right after my graduation from law school, I had this rough idea that I would be doing LLM, and if possible, I would go abroad. So I always had this in the back of my mind, but I wanted to work for a bit. So I, after my LLB, I started working in litigation, and thereafter, but COVID came in, so my plans got a bit delayed because I was supposed to work for 3 years and then go. So it got a bit delayed, and after 4 years, 2022, I went to Edinburgh. I applied and I went there.
So, with this gap of 4 years, you were already practicing and things like that. And while applying abroad, you need some recommendation letters and other things, tests and all. So, what all tests you had to do, and how did you manage your recommendation letter?
So, for a recommendation, I asked my senior at that point in time to give me a recommendation letter. And Edinburgh University also required a recommendation from my previous educational institution. So, I had to get in touch with one of my professors from Banaras Hindu University, and then they helped me out. And if you're a working person, so getting a recommendation from a senior is easier. If you're in a firm, then you have a lot of seniors, and highlighting your work profile also becomes important if you're going after a gap of 3 to 4 or 5 years.
Sure, sure. And so, you had one person from your BHU, like the previous college, and two people from your firm itself, right?
From my We required only one person from my work place to give a recommendation, and the professor. Yes.
Okay, two people. So, a two good relation is good enough for a study abroad aspirant.
Yes, 2 to 3.
Two to three. Sure, sure. And did you also had to write any GRE, IELTS kind of thing?
So after deciding on which country to go, I and which course to pick on. So I gave, according to the colleges, like University of Edinburgh, they just required a TOEFL or a IELTS score, and Cambridge also required those. So when I was applying to different universities, I was looking at it. So applying to UK is easier because in my case, LLM was a 1 year course, and in US it was a 2 year course. So 1 year was to save time and less tests to give. So UK was a conscious choice that I made, and I because I'm from India, they didn't require much of these exams except for TOEFL. Just one word. Some of these colleges, they actually can do away with the with us giving TOEFL or IELTS if we have just passed out or within 2 years. So I think QMUL is one such university which has this uh, advantage for Indian students, and I'm sure there are many more universities. But when I was applying, QMUL was one such university which gave this advantage to Indian students.
And you only applied to UK universities, right?
Yes, I applied to UK.
Okay, okay, sure. So once you applied and you got some offers, so how did you decide the final offer to accept?
In my case, it was very different. I was very particular about which college to apply, and my first choice was University of Edinburgh. However, my seniors said, I should apply to a few more, and I applied to Cambridge as well. So I didn't apply to a lot of colleges because my aim was sure, like I want to go to Edinburgh. So I applied to Cambridge. I didn't get through. So University of Edinburgh was the only answer I had.
Sure, sure, sure. So you applied to two and you got
But
one offer like that.
yes, yes. But one word of I think advice I would give people who are applying to UK, there's a cost difference when you're applying to Scotland and when you're applying to England. So if you go to universities that are in England and Wales, so there the cost is a bit higher. Your living expenses, your tuition is a bit higher. If you apply to Scotland, it's a bit less expensive compared to England. So although that was not my consideration at that point in time, I applied to Edinburgh because the profile that they had and the course that I wanted to do fit my criteria.
Sure, sure, sure. And once you decided you will go to Edinburgh and you got the offer, I guess you'd be very happy that time. So after that, you had to apply for the visa and accommodation. So how did you do these?
Yes. So as soon as I got the offer, so University of Edinburgh had these Facebook groups. From there, I got through the Indian group, and the Indian group had a WhatsApp group. So all what I understood at that point in time is that all these universities have their own Facebook and Instagram groups where you can become a member and get in touch with your fellow mates who are going to Edinburgh or any other university at that point in time. So, and the passport process, sorry, the visa process was all on my own. Like I applied for it on my own. There was a bit of help from the community of the Indian students that were going. So I got my visa on the like just a day before my flight. So, and it was very close call. I had not even deferred my studies, but it was a very close call. I had to go to the visa office and tell them, please give me my passport. uh, and I had no communication from the visa office as to whether my passport is ready to be collected or not, but thankfully it was, and I got my visa just then. But these WhatsApp groups are very important when you have because there's a plethora of information is being exchanged. Obviously you'll have to choose what information you need to rely on, but a plethora of information is there.
So with this last minute visa thing, you had a lot of emotional fluctuations, I guess.
Yes, I did. But thankfully I got it.
So you already kept your
And
bags packed and like just waiting, 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 and then you'll say, okay, today I'll get,
yes,
tomorrow I'll take the flight, or I'll book the next flight maybe after a week or so.
yes, it was like that.
So pretty
I
much you
couldn't
took a
have booked
bet.
the next flight also. I did take a bet
You couldn't book the next flight because
because
it was all full.
the tickets were,
Damn expensive.
no, not because of that, very expensive. And these airlines, they usually make the tickets expensive during September, August, because that's the intake time.
Yeah, yeah. So one business leads to another business kind of, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, great, great. So once you got your this visa thing, accommodation thing sorted, and like the final flight you took, which flight did you take? How did you fly from Kolkata to Edinburgh?
So I took Emirates, so sorry, Qatar Airways, and it stops at Qatar for 1 hour, and so 5 hours from here to Qatar, and then 7 hours to Edinburgh from Qatar. And
Okay,
there are
okay.
plethora of options.
And you made a group of people going from, let's say, Kolkata, or there was like you were alone that time?
there there was a group. What happens with these WhatsApp groups where all Indian students are there, we made subgroups also, those who are going from Mumbai, those who are going from Calcutta. Some of them met up, and if most of them were in the same course, so they could talk and interact. In my case, I was the only one because I there was hardly anybody from Calcutta going for LLM. There were other students from different other cities, not from Calcutta. So I was alone.
Sure, sure. But I think you may have met people at the Doha airport when you had the connecting flight.
There was no time. I had just 1 hour, 1 hour stop, and I had to rush. The airport is so big in Qatar. You have to run from one end to the other. It takes at least half an hour.
So you did run for half an hour and you checked your stamina that day.
I had to, and I had to because then you have to check where from which gate it is the flight is supposed to leave, and it's a very big airport.
So this 1 hour transition time was from the very beginning, or your flight got delayed? That's why it squeezed to 1 hour.
No, from the beginning, I chose a flight with the shortest possible time, uh, because there were other flights. They were the layover was more than 9 hours, more than 10 hours. So
So it
you
was
get
pretty much 10 hours or 1 hour. So you chose like 1 hour to like
yes.
took
Again,
another leap
again
of
a
faith.
bet. Yes,
So you are good at betting yourself at these kind of situations. You like betting.
I think so. No,
So
no, no.
once
I
you
don't like betting.
yeah, sure, sure. Just kidding. So once you reached Edinburgh, you would have, seen some differences, India versus Scotland, or like cultural difference, the way the education is done. So what were the few initial differences or the surprise shocks that you observed?
So the when I went there, so it wasn't very big of a cultural difference. It's just normal human beings there. Uh, but on the positive aspect that I noticed was in terms of education. So as a LLM student, we did not have any exams. We just had to write essays, 5,000 word essays. And initially, I did a bit poorly, but then the professors over there, they told me where do I need to like focus on. And when I worked on those things, I realized the difference between education in India and there. At least in the higher studies, in India, what we do is we have exams. Even the LLM students have exams, and there are certain passing marks you have to gain. But there, the focus is not on what you know. The focus is in how you analyze that part. Suppose we are reading the UK Insolvency Act. They'll give me a essay like which will involve 2 3 sections in it, and I have to analyze it. I don't have to say what the law says. I have to show how I can apply that part. So I think in terms of law students, I think those students who have been abroad, especially the law students, they'll agree with me that the analysis part, this is not taught anywhere. We are not in India, we are not told to focus on the analysis part. But there, and even in the US, because my friends from Edinburgh also went to US to do a second LLM, so the focus is on the analysis part. And that, when I came back, has been with me. So now when I am drafting even the legal documents, or when I am trying to prepare for a case, as I said, conviction is important in a lawyer. So we have to present our truth in a different way. So that analysis has to be there, and that has really helped me now.
Sure, sure, sure. This analysis thing, like you said, helped you analyze whatever you have. Otherwise, if it was just a theoretical knowledge, then obviously the UK law is different, Indian law is different, and different countries have different laws. But the way you analyze those could be very similar here, there, wherever.
Yes, yes.
Correct, correct. So you had this course and you did any part-time job internship also? Was there any provision like that also while you were there?
Yes, so in UK, when we go on a study visa, you can do part-time jobs. I did apply for some, but most of the jobs would be at cafes uh, you know, or some eatery houses. Now, my problem was I'm a vegetarian, so for me to work at those places was a bit difficult. However, I did apply to other places which required a secretarial sort of thing, but it's very difficult to get part-time jobs. Like you have to be really on it. So either I could have focused on my part-time job, or I could have focused on writing my 5,000 word essays, because we had uh, 3 subjects each semester, 2 semesters, so 3 subjects, and the pr- so I could not have focused on the part-time job. But there were people who managed to do both, and that's really great of them.
Sure, sure, sure. So when you're doing this, you had like six courses in total, three in each semester.
Yes, I had three subjects in first semester and three in another in the second semester, and then a dissertation to write. So I have to pass these six subjects, and then I can go on to write my dissertation. And I would like to tell you about the study style also. It was not a classroom taught thing. So what we used to get is the professors would upload what reading materials would be there, and we were supposed to search for it, read it, come to class, and discuss. So it was never like the professor is teaching us on a blackboard. No, we had to talk. The professor would ask us questions, and we would talk. And the professors would ask us what happens in our respective countries as well. So it was a good interaction and a lot to learn.
Kind of a group discussion, panel discussion kind of format.
Yes, yes. And it wasn't as if we had classes every day. It was once a week, like each subject had once a week.
Okay, okay. So the other time was given for you to discuss and create your own case
Yes,
analysis, etc.
yes. There was a
So,
lot of reading material to read. So we
what
wouldn't
was
get
the
time, and we could yes.
what was the weather like? The weather fluctuation in your 1 year? Did you feel depressed in the winter a bit?
Yes, Scotland has only 3 hours of sunlight during December, January. So if you're getting up at 11 a.m., it would still be dark, and by 3 p.m., the sun would set. Nonetheless, it's a beautiful place, Scotland. I went to Edinburgh and other Aberdeen and surrounding places. Um, the weather is not as sunny, but it is during springtime. It's beautiful.
Sure, sure, sure. So after you finished your degree, you decided to come back to India, or you did like something there also?
It was always in my plan that I would come back to India because I want to be in litigation as far as possible, and later on, if possible, I would want to be a judge of the High Court here or maybe the Supreme Court. So I always wanted to come back. So it wasn't an option for me to stay there. Although people around me, my parents did say, "Why don't you work over there?" But it was because working there would be again applying for a graduate visa. You have to wait, and till then you have nothing to do. I mean, you can do part-time jobs, but for me it wasn't really calling.
And also, you had some experience back in India, so you just thought it's best to come
Yes,
back and resume with more knowledge and more
yes,
understanding of
yes.
analyzing things, etc. Okay, okay, sure, sure. So once you came back to India and you started practicing again, how was your life different after this 1 year break?
Life was different. There were people. So litigation is something where if you're out of sight, people do forget you. So out of sight, out of mind. But it did not take much time to get back in sight of people and the judges. So it took me around 3 to 4 months to come back and where people would remember me. But it's not that my old impact was gone. So I started working, although it took me like 3 to 4 months to for people to again come back to me.
Sure, sure, sure. So what are your future plans for now?
My future plans are very simple, that I have to work in litigation till the day I die and be one of the best lawyers, if not a judge.
And you also want to be judge someday, if possible.
If possible, I would hope that the collegium knows me, gets to know me, and makes me the Supreme Court judge. But that is all in wishful thinking. For now, I can only concentrate on what I have. That is
So
to be a good lawyer.
so right now you are practicing this law and things like that. And So what's the criteria to become a judge? Like how does a judge become a judge in general?
So there are three ways you can become judges. One is when you right after law school, you can give the judiciary exams, where you'll be placed as a lower court judge, and then you can get promotion. Then after the second option is after 7 years of practice, you can become a district level judge if you pass the exam. There is a higher judiciary exam, or you can be a distinguished lawyer, and where your name gets recommended to be elevated as a judge. So these are the three ways. So for the third, I'm aiming for the third option, where I become a distinguished jurist, and people notice me.
Sure, sure, sure. So what advice would you give to younger yourself?
I would advise them, um, do study abroad if possible once in your lifetime as a law student, because meeting those new people with from different countries is very important for you to have a very wide perspective. So if possible, I think people should like go abroad for LLM.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Ankita, for your time and sharing your experience with our audience. And we hope our audience learned something, and some of the aspirants might connect with you through LinkedIn, and also feel free to answer their question if you have time. So
Yes,
thank you. Have a good day.
thank you, sir, and thank you for this opportunity.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, bye, sir.